I can't tell you how pleased I am to be here addressing you today. I am a huge fan of entrepreneurship and of entrepreneurs, and I am not the only one. You may be noticing a banner over there that says Global Entrepreneurship Week. During this week, we are joining over 10 million other individuals who are all celebrating entrepreneurship all around the world. Moreover, today, this particular day, is Global Entrepreneurship Week, a day particularly dedicated to youth, to young people like yourselves, because we believe that young people can really make the difference as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. Now, as you know, you have been handpicked from your respective schools in order to be here because we consider you to be Malta's brightest young minds, because we believe that you can really be the brightest entrepreneurs of the future. Now, before I go on, I would like to introduce my panel discussion, my panel speakers, and I will be asking them a few questions. And later on, I will open the floor for you to ask some questions of your own. So, this is my colleague, Dr. Anton Bartolov from the University of Malta. He is the director for the Knowledge Transfer Office. To his left is Mr. Nick Tonna, who is the Chief Commercial Officer from BMIT. Miss Elisa Calleja, who is a bright young entrepreneur, and you have all met her now. Bernard Juice from the Malta Communications Authority. And last but not least, Miss Emma Schwierep from a company called Orange, so another young entrepreneur. My first question is for Bernard. Bernard, you are one of the brains behind this wonderful event today. And you have also been working very hard to promote entrepreneurship here in Malta. But why? Why are you working so hard to promote entrepreneurship? Why is it so great?
Okay, so I come from the Communications Authority, which is basically the authority responsible for promoting technology and making Malta benefit from the use of ICT. So, first of all, I'm not an entrepreneur. Doesn't mean that we at the authority are not entrepreneuring, but basically I work with government. And bridging to what the previous panel was saying, that you don't need to be the entrepreneur to be entrepreneuring. And I think what we're seeing here, even your teachers and everyone in this room, is that we're trying to do something different. We're trying to even the experience, the education experience, we're trying to bridge the entrepreneurs and yourself. And this is what have triggered us to create this event. And we're doing it not just on our own, but we're doing it with many other entities, with the university, with the MITA, Young Enterprise, and the education, all the schools, etc., etc. So why are we doing this? So the authority in the past, so let me ask some questions, obvious questions. How many of you have a smartphone? Can you raise your hands? Let me see. It's an obvious question. Everyone has a smartphone. How many of you have a Facebook account? Everyone has a Facebook account. How many of you have got a watch? Watch. I don't have one. Yes. So probably when we talk about innovation, what comes to mind and technology are smartphones, tablets, and these things. And in fact, as a population, we're quite advanced in adopting innovation. But what we're talking here about is a step further. Rather than harnessing innovation and being the first among the first to harness such innovation, we're looking at becoming the innovators. And this is where we want our economy to go. Rather than being at the forefront of being the first, of having fast broadband, having the best infrastructure on 5Gs eventually, or whatever, we're having the people inventing the technology, the people applying the technology for new solutions, and the people growing our economy. And this is in a nutshell why the authority is looking at this. Now, I want to say something on a personal level. I started my career as an educator. And funnily enough, this morning I met one of your teachers who happened to be my student when I was still teaching. And I remember at that time I used to teach a whole school. So I would have something like 500 students in Form 2s and Form 1s, learning ICT, basic ICT. And one student came to me for the Parents' Day with her mother. And she told me, okay, I just recognized the face, couldn't even recognize her name. And somewhere or another, She told me her name, I found the name, and I discovered that her results were all over 90s. And I asked her, okay, you're here. What brought you? Why are you talking to the computer teacher, not the maths, English, physics? And she said, well, we're considering that my child, my girl, would take computer as the optional to study for the O-level. That was good because it was the first year, the study was opening, it would be the first cohort. Okay, and I asked her, okay, what would you like to do when you grow up? And her mother jumped in and said, well, she's considering a career in becoming a clerk. And I think it was very sad to see this girl having all options in front of her and just closing her doors because the ambitions that her mother could give her were so limited. And this is the challenge maybe that today we need, hopefully all of you, you need to think big and think whatever you want to do, you're still in time to do it. You're young enough to do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Bernard. From the first panel discussion, we heard Ivan and the other Bernard and Claudine talking about how tough entrepreneurship is. Apparently, owning and running a business is a lot of hard work. So I was sitting there wondering, okay, so why would anybody want to do it? So Nick, maybe you can give us some, I know you have experience in top positions in employment, and you have also recently completed a master's in entrepreneurship, and so you also have some experience with your own budding project. So why would anybody want to be an entrepreneur?
Sure. So first of all, I think one of the things that Ivan and Claudine mentioned during the first panel was that there's nothing wrong in being an employee, okay? So being an employee, however, is no less hard work, and especially as you start to move towards the top part of a company's organization and take really top positions within the company, it is just as stressful. You need to be entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial, which basically means you need to see how you're going to move your organization forward. For 8 years in my career, I worked at Microsoft. And I can assure you that at Microsoft, we were pushed to the limits year after year. And they would stretch us. And as the year goes by, to accomplish the company's objectives, as the year goes by, we were pushed even further. And for sure, that was a great experience. And I believe that there's no cushy job anymore in today's world. So being an employee at whatever level of an organization is just as hard as being an entrepreneur. I've been involved, as you rightly introduced, Leonie, I've been involved in startups both before and after my Microsoft experience. Some of them were successful and some of them were less successful. And in my current position, I was engaged basically to take what was already an already very successful company and transform it into Malta's first cloud services provider. Okay, so basically this is a technology company that was doing good things and was extremely successful, but wanted to saw an opportunity and wanted to realize that opportunity and be the first in Malta to do so. When I tell the story, people still wince at me saying, you know, so you left Microsoft after 8 years, after a very successful career, you know, to join a small Maltese company, and I proudly say, yes, I had that courage, right? And what motivated me was that challenge to look at the opportunity and to contribute actively with my experience and my ideas in order to help the company realize that opportunity. And I believe that this is what those of you who are asking themselves today, the question is entrepreneurship for me, or is it easier to be an employee? What I would tell you is, you know, what burns inside, what motivates you inside, and really find that opportunity that keeps that spirit alive. Whether it's entrepreneurship or whether it is being a good employee, as Ivan mentioned, where you are actively contributing to the success of your employer.
Thank you, Nick. Elisa, we've heard a lot about your exciting story. And you are, I think, one young lady who is seriously into entrepreneurship. I've known you for perhaps about 2 years now, and she has attended each and every single event related to entrepreneurship that we have been organizing, which is fantastic. You know, because if you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to plant yourself very firmly in all the opportunities that come around. So well done on that. What I haven't really understood through your presentations today is what drew you to entrepreneurship. You mentioned something about meeting a couple of friends in sixth form, but I mean, I'm sure you met other friends who were into other things as well, but what drew you to entrepreneurship? Why do you think it's so cool?
Okay, so yeah, I met other friends who are into really different things, and that's something about me that I realized that I'm attracted to new things like a little kid. When I see something new, it's like a shiny new toy. So apart from entrepreneurship, I've been to a million other things. So but I think entrepreneurship really stuck, because I take up one thing and then leave. I take up one thing, and that's like a big problem for mine. But entrepreneurship really stuck because it's a way how to change the world. I view it as a way how you can make a difference in the world. So before like when I was doing my O-levels, I didn't really care. I see a problem, I'm like, okay, someone should do something about that. I mean, it's not my problem. But when you change your like mindset to becoming like to have an entrepreneurial mindset, you start realizing, okay, there's a problem, but as in, what can I do to fix that? How can I, through my knowledge and through my skills, work hard to fix something in society that might be annoying someone else or might be hurting someone else? So I think that is why mostly entrepreneurship really stuck with me. And also, it's given me amazing opportunities. So I got to compete abroad. I get to give speeches to budding entrepreneurs. I mean, they're all things that really give me pleasure and really motivate me towards setting up my business. Regarding like the business world, why I love it so much, I think I'm more drawn to encouraging entrepreneurship. Apart from like starting my own business, I'm more passionate about other people, making them realize their dream rather than running my own business, although I have 2 businesses that I have to run. About the business side, I really love it because you can practically set your own time, although I spend like till midnight and 1 in the morning working rather than like going out and having fun. But that's a sacrifice I said I'm willing to make, and I never regretted it. I do like take a step back from all the fun stuff that I should be doing, and in order to make a sacrifice towards a better future. And also, I get to work from my bed, which is amazing. I have this thing, I can't work on a table, so if I'm in an office and I have to work on a table, I mean, I have to, if I was an employee, I'd have to tell them to get me a sofa because I can't work on a table. So that is a really good perk that I can work from anywhere I want. Although, like I said before, that I didn't think about entrepreneurship when I was at my O-levels. Later on, I realized that when I was young, when I was doing my O-levels, I technically had my own business. I was doing design and working as a designer. But later on, I realized that that's an actual business. I was just doing design because I love it. And I was earning money on the side, and I didn't really realize the money. So it's like something that you have to really love to do. I mean, don't think that everything is about the money, because in reality it might fail, but it's like the journey. I know it's cliche, but I mean, part of the fun is the journey, not the end. So just enjoy it.
It's interesting that you brought this issue up about the money. How many of you think that most entrepreneurs start up their business for the money because they want to become rich and famous? How many of you think it's for a variety of other reasons? Yep, you are absolutely right. The number one reason that entrepreneurs cite when asked why they wanted to become entrepreneurs is that they want to be their own boss. They value the autonomy, the flexibility, the independence of being their own boss over and above the money-earning potential. Now, of course, if they become rich and famous in the process, I guess most of them would see it as a welcome benefit, right? But many entrepreneurs are not primarily motivated by making lots and lots of money. It is much better to be an entrepreneur because it's what you really want to do, it's because you have a passion for it, Because when you're doing something that you are passionate about, as we have been hearing already, the money will then come if things are going well and if you've got the skills and you've got the knowledge and so on. Right, Emma, we haven't heard anything from you yet. I understand your presentation is in the afternoon. So would you like to tell our audience a little bit about yourself? Your company was set up as part of Young Enterprise. So what was your experience? What drew you to entrepreneurship and to Young Enterprise?
Honestly, I think it was pretty much where we first heard about Young Enterprise was in sixth form. A representative from Young Enterprise came to speak to us at school. And I think that really kind of already drew me into, thinking this is what I want to do with my life. But Young Enterprise was a perfect opportunity for me to actually get started because every day, if you have an idea and you think, oh, I'll get down to it or someone else will do it. But what Young Enterprise made me realize was that you have to be that someone who's going to do that something. I think the best part of it all was that you create something. It's almost like raising a child and watching it grow, I imagine. But I think it was just like the fact that you can make whatever you want with your idea. It's your idea, and you say where you go and what you do with it, and there's no one to kind of restrict you. And it's a lot of hard work, obviously, but, and like Elisa said, sometimes you have to take a step back from the fun stuff. But at the end of the day, I found that taking my idea and making it into something was fun to me. And watching it build into something really big. The opportunities that we got were endless. And they're endless for you as well, if you just take the step. I think the hardest part is believing in yourself. But then once you actually believe in yourself, you can do anything. You can sell a piece of cardboard to someone if you want.
Thank you, Emma. Anton, I understand that you support many young entrepreneurs at the Takeoff Incubator at the University of Malta. Could you tell our young people here what sort of support and incentives you offer?
Sure. First of all, I wanted to say how honored I am to be addressing this audience. I don't think I ever addressed an audience of people who are so brilliant, who have been chosen because they're the top of their class, basically. So over here we have, I think, a cream of crop that tomorrow will be Malta's future, basically. So I'm really honored to be speaking to you today. So before, to tell you about Takeoff, basically, I'll answer a question that was addressed to the panel before, which was, is it easier today to start up a company than it was, let's say, 10, 15 years ago? And the answer really is yes and no. Yes, because there are many services that you can now benefit from to help you create a successful company. You heard Alex speaking about the Meta Innovation Hub, and at university we also have another incubator which is called Takeoff, where we help startups in a number of ways. We provide space from them to work from, which is important not because of the space really, but because we give them a space where they can all be together in the same area. So the amount of networking, the amount of help that they give each other is amazing. And I think one of the challenges of a new startup is that you get lonely, you get disheartened, and you think, why am I doing this? Whereas if there are other people around you starting up companies, it makes it easier to get over these lows. We offer mentorship, so we have a group of people who have started up companies, been really successful, failed, because failure is part of entrepreneurship. And they are available to mentor our startups. So our startups meet with them regularly, get advice, they get the support with the network, so they introduce them to people who are important to help them develop their business. We have an incubator manager, Andy, who's a brilliant person. He's done entrepreneurship himself. And he can advise on practically everything. So basically, at Takeoff, there is anything you need, to increase the success of your company. Maybe to be a bit more concrete, I can give 3 examples of companies we have there. So we have a digital games company called Mighty Box. They had this idea of developing a board game, which would eventually help them sell their digital game based on the board game. They did a Kickstarter campaign, a crowdfunding. I don't know how many of you are aware of crowdfunding. So it's a platform where you pre-sell an item, and if enough people commit, say that they will buy that item and put in money, then you use that money to actually develop the product and give it to them. So they raised $350,000 in this Kickstarter campaign. So they were hoping to raise 50,000, and they raised 7 times as much, basically. So they're now delivering thousands of these board games to America, to Europe, Germany, all over the place. And thanks to this campaign, they're now funding the digital game, which originally they had started out to produce. So that's one company. We have another company that's involved in 3D printing. How many of you have ever seen a 3D printer? Okay, so you've all seen a 2D printer, right? You've all seen a paper printer. So a 3D printer uses a strand of plastic, and it actually builds 3D objects. Okay, so anything you can come up with a drawing of, the 3D printer can print for you. So they work in this area, and they came up with a glue that helps your item stick to the base when it's hot, and when it cools down, you can remove the item from the base. And apparently nobody came up with this bright idea before them. They launched it, and now they're in the process of selling thousands of this stotch of glue, which they produce, they develop, they made the production for it, and now they're selling again all over the world. The third company I wanted to mention, they deal with worms, okay? So they are working or perfecting a system where you have worms that transform waste into compost that then can be used for farming, okay? So, I mean, we have all kinds of startups. I mean, we have 15 in all, so these are just 3. And, I mean, it's a good possibility, basically, to help people who are interested in starting up a company.
Anton,
So that makes...
Seriously? Worms?
Worms.
Ooh. Sorry, go on.
It's probably fun if you like worms.
I'm sure, yeah. Just one question. Do you only take university students at takeoff, or would this be open to younger students?
We actually would love to fill the place up with university students, but we need to push the university students a bit more to make them a bit more entrepreneurial.
Well, let's say a few of these young people get a bright idea over the summer holidays, for example.
Okay.
Would you be open to having a chat with them?
Maybe you're a bit too young, okay? But in 2-3 years, when they're university students, we'll definitely be happy to have them. But we're not only open to university students, so we're open to anyone who has a good idea, and maybe more than a good idea, has a good team, and proves to us that they have a good potential of actually implementing their idea.
Okay.
So we're open to everyone.
Great.
The last thing, so...
Last thing, and then we'll open to the floor.
It's easier to create a company, but it's much more difficult because there's much more competition. So we in Malta are trying to encourage our young people to become entrepreneurs. Everywhere else in the world, they're doing the same. So for every idea that you get, there are probably 5 other groups working on the same idea. So it's a bit more competitive.
Okay. Thank you. Shall we open the questions to the floor? Right. Have you got any questions?
Does it matter where you set up your business? Do you think that it's more worth it to set up in Malta because you have your roots over here, or abroad?
I guess there's no right or wrong answer to your question. And there's quite a complex considerations that need to be made. We see, for example, the online gaming industry sets up their businesses in Malta because There are a number of reasons. Also because Malta is a nice place to operate for people that come from Scandinavia. At the same time, Malta is a very small market. So I believe businesses that really want to think big need to think beyond Malta and look at how we can tap into our wider geography. You know, we are part and parcel of the European Union today, so our market should not be the 450,000 people that live here, but the millions of people that live on the mainland.
And it's becoming easier and easier to sell products through the internet abroad. So, for example, Mighty Box, they created their game. If it were 10 years ago, they would have it would have been very difficult for them to sell it in America. Now, the USA is their prime market because there are the most people who buy digital games over there. So, with the internet and the modern way of communication, it's becoming easier to have an international market and to think big.
Living in a world where almost everything was created, how did you come up with your own original ideas like the app or the 3D printer?
Okay, so the two applications we developed were problems that were presented to us by Meta. So regarding those, we didn't come up with them. I mean, there are apps in general, so it wasn't like a really new innovative idea. But when we take the company we created through Young Enterprise, I think the way to create innovative ideas, because there are so many out there right now, is to combine two different things. I mean, everything is basically created. I mean, it's really hard to come up with something really new. So if you take two things that are already created and you merge them together in an innovative way, it's still an innovative idea. So that's a way how to create things even though the market's so saturated with different ideas.
I'd like to answer this. There are many, many, many ways in which you as individuals or as teams can come up with new ideas for new products and services, different approaches. One approach is, for example, starting to really pay attention to people's problems, listening to people's complaints, taking a note of them, because in reality, people's problems are an opportunity to create a solution that could be turned into a product or a service. Many products and services are essentially in response to people's problems that emerge because of the changing world in which we live. So that's one option. Another option is to use one of many, many, many thinking tools, creative thinking tools that are available to help you generate creative ideas at will. Before, people used to think that in order to be creative, you need to sit around, stand around, waiting for the apple to fall on your head. It is not necessarily the case anymore. You can, as we say, stand up and shake the apple tree. You can use creative thinking tools in order to come up with creative ideas at will, whenever you want. After the break, you will have a workshop using one very simple technique, which my colleague will explain to you in a few minutes' time. And you will start to understand that there are many ways in which you can actually come up with new ideas.
If I could add to what she said, I think there are a number of technologies which are being brought out every single day that you could base your ideas off of, or you could actually be the person who invents these new technologies. And I think, honestly, the key to your success is to start with the end in mind. So, like, think where you want to go and start aiming to get there.
Antonio wanted to add something?
I think it's also important to think in the areas that you're involved in. Okay, so you are students. So what problems do you see when you're learning at school? Maybe it's a boring teacher. Okay, so can you think of something that could make that lesson less boring? Come up with something, for example. You use your mobiles all the time. You're communicating. Can you come up with a new app that would make it easier to communicate in a certain way, to cover the needs that you're facing, maybe to collaborate on a project that you have at school, for example. So it's important to use your experience because if it's a problem that you encounter, that you felt, then you're more likely to understand what the problem is.
If you were to give these young people here one piece of advice, one piece of entrepreneurship advice, if you like, what would it be?
Be creative and go for it.
Short and sweet. Good. Emma?
I think you need to observe what's around you. Don't let anyone tell you what your limits are, because the sky is the limit, and go for it. Don't sit and wait for something. You have to be your own motivation.
Be proactive.
Be the change you want to see. Just if you think something is wrong, fix it.
Indeed.
And deal with it.
And
Nick?
for me, it's don't fear failures or mistakes. You know, Apple, which is the most successful company today, was on the brink of bankruptcy 15 or 20 years ago. And they came out of it, and they are the strongest company that exists today.
And we are not talking here about failure that comes about from lack of trying, from lack of effort. Okay? The fact that you are here, I know that you are all hard workers and that you all put in a lot of effort. The failure that we are talking about is not when you put in effort, because when you put in effort, you will succeed. The failure that we are talking about is when you try a creative idea, when you try something in entrepreneurship, and there is no guarantee that it's going to succeed. Therefore, the trick is to fail quickly, fail cheaply, move on to the next idea, and learn from the process.
You're in a unique position that you are around 16 years old, right? I'm 48. You can't say, what do I want? What's my dream job? What can I aspire to? I can't do that because I'm already in a job. I don't have much time left. You have all your lives left. So think of your dream job and work towards it, because, I mean, you still have the possibility of getting that dream job.
Good. One final piece of advice from me. Listen to your teachers, listen to your parents. We are not here to tell you to stop studying and go out and start a business tomorrow. On the contrary, you need to study hard, you need to get your grades, you need to come to university. I want to see you at university. When you are at university, come take our courses. We are the Edward de Bono Institute. We offer courses, optional study units to all undergraduate courses in creativity, idea generation, entrepreneurship, and a number of other subjects that will help you learn how to be entrepreneurial. Become experts in your fields, learn the tricks of your trade, get summer jobs if you need to, get employment if you need to, learn from it all, and use it all as different stepping stones to the ultimate destination that you would have set for yourself. Perhaps, hopefully, I hope that at least some of you, as Malta's brightest young minds, will be tomorrow's brightest entrepreneurs. Thank you for your attention, and I would now